Hi, Uprisers. It is Trisha Key with Sacred Uprising Institute. It is so great to see everybody today, and we have Dak who is going to be on. He will be talking today about we are responsible for our own evolution. So while I'm waiting for Dak to come on board, I just wanted to let everybody know we have a full schedule this week with videos. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have Courtney Walsh, and she will be talking about the Wendy syndrome. The Wendy syndrome. I'm working from a new phone because for some reason my phone wouldn't work. So now I'm all confused on what I need to do to get Dak on. So anyways, the Wendy syndrome on 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have Lori. She will be talking about living your truth. And then we have Candace. She is new with us at 12:30, and she will be talking about marriage, the sacred path. On Wednesday, again, we have Bliss, and she will be continuing her series on the Conscious Evolver, and it's called Action. And then we have Terry Stanley on. She will be continuing hers on Thursday, as well as I will be continuing my video series called Calling in the One. So let's see. It's trying to add Dak. I think that there's been a problem with Facebook Live today. I couldn't get onto it from my phone, and we're trying another phone. So we're trying to get Dak on right now. Hopefully that'll work. Then we also have, which is exciting, our conference that is going to take place in Santa Cruz, California.
Dak, oops, we're upside down again. Let me fix this.
I know, we're all, yeah, I know. Here, let's see if I can, you stay that way. Okay. I'm on a different phone because of the issues we were having. Perfect. Can you, now you're upside down.
Okay, hold on a second. I got to get off my.
Yeah.
Like this, up and down?
Yeah, there we go. We'll just do it that way. Okay, all right. We're gonna wing it. I tried to do it like 3 or 4 times from my phone, and I had to shut my phone down, and it wouldn't work. So I had to use the. I know it's. No, it's always something, right?
Can everybody see me fine?
So I can see you fine now.
Good.
I can see you fine. So I am a page. So we are responsible for our own revolution or evolution. Yeah, there we go, revolution. Well, whatever we want to call it. Can you hear me?
Can you see me? Can you hear me? Oh, I can't. It's cutting out a little bit.
I can see you.
Like robot-y, but can you see me fine and hear me fine?
I can hear you and see you. Can you hear me?
Somewhat, but we'll keep
he
going.
He can't
on.
hear me. Okay, all right. Okay.
Uh-oh. Robot-y sometimes.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So why don't we go ahead and start?
Okay. So this topic here, we are responsible for our own evolution. I just kind of want to tell a little bit of my story, so people can get to know me, and they can also see where I'm coming from with this. I had my first mystical experience as a little boy. When I say mystical, it was what I mean is that first experience that you have that there is something other than you and greater than you, but yet still connected to you. I had that as a little boy out in the pasture. It was not at church. And my grandmother, who raised me at that time, she relayed the story to me. I remember vaguely details, but I do remember being out in the woods by this pond that was in our back pasture and singing. I used to go out there and sing church songs that I hear her sing. And at the same time, there was Whitney Houston had her song, The Greatest Love of All. And my voice hadn't changed, so I could still hit the high notes and whatnot. But I remember singing that song and having this overwhelming experience. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And I ran back to the house and started crying and ran back to my grandmother. And all she knew was church. So she said, baby, you got saved. That was Jesus. Jesus came in and he touched your heart. And so that's what I went with. And that was my story for years. And so I did what everybody does. I went to church. I joined church. I got baptized. I put on the robes. I did all the stuff that we were taught to do. in the Bible and in church. But at the same time, you know my story. Being a young little boy, I was gay and had all these other things and all these other feelings and emotion. I was an artist in the midst of a family that was full of football players and sports figures and whatnot. So I always felt like I didn't quite fit in, but yet, oh, how I longed to fit in. How it was like my prayer. I remember praying a prayer as a little boy all the way up into my adult life till I turned in my 30s and mid 30s. Before I went to bed, I used to pray, Jesus, if you could just make me not gay. If you could somehow take away this defect from me, so then I could fit in more with everybody else. My longing to fit in with others, to fit in with my family, to fit in religion, led me to some very, very, very self-destructive habits. And then, so fast forward now, I don't want to dive too much into the story. I probably end up telling it more at conference, so we have more time to do it. But fast forward 37 years of my life, I'm working in a huge major church. I pretty much had accepted the fact that I was gay, but yet around gay people in that scene, I couldn't be spiritual because it just didn't fit in. But then around church people, I couldn't be, still again, this age-old pattern of looking for a home and looking for acceptance and looking for healing outside of myself was kind of what I did. It's kind of what I knew. It lead me to do was to get involved in drugs. And I remember being strung out on drugs 3 days straight in London, no sleep. And I was sitting in a tiny flat praying for someone to come through the door and to rescue me. It was like, I'd always prayed for a rescue-like prayer. Either Jesus was going to save me, or either some outside something was going to come in and do something for me. And I heard that voice that I hadn't heard since like I was a little boy, as clear as it was then in that room. After 3 days of no sleep, I was praying that prayer. I need an intervention. I heard that voice on the inside say, if you know you need an intervention, then give yourself one. And that was the beginning of me totally like turning around my world. I went to my pastor at Hillsong Church and I told him, I've got to come out of the closet. I've got to accept myself, because right now what I'm doing is I'm destroying myself. And so when I get to this topic that I'm talking about now, about how we are responsible for our own evolution, for our own healing, for our own rising up, it's very near and very dear to me because it is the truth that I live. I recall the story that Jesus talked about, the man who was begging. He was outside the pool waiting for an angel to come in and stir the water so he could get his healing, or waiting for somebody to put him in the water because he was too crippled to get to the water himself. But Jesus asked him, he said, but do you want to be made whole? And once again, that lame man listed all the excuses as to why he was not whole. And Jesus brought him right back to the question, do you want to be made whole? And the thing Jesus told him without touching him was, rise, take up your own bed, and walk. And so that was the same words that he said to me, that rang through, that consciousness of Christ that rang through in my soul, was that while you've been looking to others, while you've been waiting for somebody to come by and to lift you up, actually the healing is in your hands, and it has always been in your hands. And so instead of waiting for a savior and waiting for someone to, again, flying with a cape to save the day, a lot of times women are even waiting. They're taught to in this culture. Wait till a man comes to complete you, to lift you, to save you. And you're putting your life on hold, waiting for something or someone to come and to make you whole, when the healing is totally in your hands, and it is your responsibility. So that's where I get this topic of being responsible for your own evolution. Have you ever felt or lived anything like this, Trish?
I have. It's interesting that you want to talk about this because tomorrow Courtney Walsh is going to be talking about it in her video called the Wendy Syndrome. And I don't want to give it all away, but it's about Peter Pan, you know, the men who want to be Peter Pan and the forever boy and don't want to take responsibility. And then you have the Wendy that comes in and wants to rescue, right? But it's finding that balance of knowing it's not about rescuing, it's about having that equal exchange of energy, being true partners, being, I am responsible. So when I was going through my calling in the one, it was about being responsible for what I was trying to change within so that I could offer something that was worthy. And you have to take responsibility. If we continue to just accept ourselves where we are, which we should, but we should also want growth. We won't be changing. We won't be evolving. We won't be, you know, transforming into what we truly could be. And even with, it's interesting. So I was talking to somebody today. It was actually Courtney Walsh again, and she, no, it was Shanti Zimmerman. If any of you are familiar with her, but she's a spiritual coach, and she and I are friends. And she said in the conference, she said, Trisha, if you're concerned about people being able to pay for the conference, then you need to change your market. You need to expand your market. And really, really, I took that not just for business purposes, but for me. If I want to grow bigger and be more than I've ever dreamed of being, I need to change how I'm seeing myself, and expand the way I see myself, and who I'm hanging out with, and what I'm in life. And I do it beyond and before and take responsibility.
Are you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, my apologies.
Hear each other, guys.
It's cutting in and out, so I'm not.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Getting to hear really what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So kind of liaise with you back and forth.
Okay.
But yeah. So that victimization thing, and I'm not surprised that Courtney is teaching on this, because right when I was awakening and coming out of all of that in London, she was one of the authors that I started to follow. Her words that she wrote, that Dear Human thing, was, my gosh. It was a really, really big healing for me to read, and then to follow her posts along. And I could tell that even though we had never met each other, we had similar journeys. We were experiencing similar things, or had experienced similar things along our path. So I'm not surprised that she's going to be speaking on that tomorrow. And she's going to do a way more profound job than probably I am. But still, my take up your bed and walk thing is so important. And I just want to encourage anybody who's listening there, that it's so easy. For me, it was through religion, but it can also be in society. We often abdicate our own powers in the hopes that somebody else is going to come along and do something. And we wait for a president to come and to make a difference, or we wait for the government to come and to fix something, or we wait for a family member or for somebody to fix us or to fix our situations, but nobody's coming to save us. Nobody is. We've been given the power and the authority and just the ability to heal ourselves, or to rise up, resource ourselves, connect with others, and get the healing and support that we need, because that's another part of healing, as well as knowing how and when to ask for help. So this victim programming is something that is within our culture, but is something that we also have to overcome. Another part of the programming that I got in church that caused me to be stuck so long was this strength in numbers type of programming. How we prefer our families, or prefer our groups so much that we don't stand up for ourselves. We don't stand up even for issues that we should be standing up for, that surround us, or injustices and whatnot. So a lot of times for me, even, I remember trying to fit in a group so much that I would begin to buff off parts of who I was, parts of my personalities. I basically would do whatever it would take for you to accept me, which is how I got involved in drugs in the first place. It was something that the people in my group were doing. And I so wanted to be accepted in that group that that's just something that I tolerated. The same thing with my family. Instead of coming out and saying that I'm gay and this is who I am and I accept myself, I so wanted to be loved and accepted by my tribe, my blood tribe that I was born into the planet with, that again, it caused me to do things and not to stand up for myself and not to accept myself. So the strength in numbers programming that we have endured, it's all over. It's in our military, it's in our government. It's patriotism is another strength in numbers sort of thing.
Right.
For the sake of appearing patriotic, a lot of times we won't confront the issues that we need to confront and to stand up for. So this goes way beyond the bounds of religion. What I have discovered when I take a look back at even biblical models that were given with King David or with Jesus, anytime God wants to do something new in the earth, in your family, in a nation or whatever, he calls people away. He calls you away from the group.
Right.
He calls you away from the tribe. And maybe you're the only person that will be in your family to stand up. Maybe you will be the black sheep. This is why Jesus, when he talks about persecution and when he talks about these things, to stand up and go against the grain, it does draw that sort of criticism. But you will never discover your true purpose by assimilating and trying to be like everybody else. At the same time, where we need our tribe, and I'm so glad for you, Trisha. I'm so glad for Bliss, and I'm so glad for Courtney. But I would have never found these people if I had never seen my truth. So I think we got it backwards. We try to assimilate and dumb down parts of ourselves and then call those who we're with and everybody's hiding our tribe. You won't know who your tribe is until you stand in your truth, until you stand in your authenticity.
Right, exactly.
Until you broadcast a steady and clear vibration. This is who I am, and this is what I stand for. Then other people can come along and be attracted to that. And so when I say that we need to deprogram this strength in numbers thinking, it's not from the standpoint that you don't need anybody. What you need is genuine, authentic somebodies, not just people who are hiding or shameful or living lies and not accepting their truth. You need people who are real, who you can be honest about. And the only way you get them is by being real yourself. I wish it was the other way around, that you could just go into a group and find realness, but you can only find it by standing in your own truth. Do you know anything about that? I'm sure you do. Share with me.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm being told that I'm breaking up really bad, so nobody can hear me. Yeah. So I don't want to. I'm right there with you, but I can't really talk because I don't want it to be breaking up for everybody.
So I don't know what happened, but it's clear.
Oh, of course. Okay. Being authentic, because you know what, you can say something, but if your words and your actions are not consistent, the universe doesn't understand that. You have to be consistent.
It is a vibration.
So it's a vibration thing. So it's, if you want to attract something, if you want to bring in your tribe, you've got to speak your truth. You got to live your truth. You got to, everything needs to be authentic. And, and I'll be honest, last week I had some things that were going on in my life, and that's why I didn't do a video on Thursday, because I knew that where I was not going to be as much in my truth as what I needed to be, and therefore it wouldn't reach the people that needed it. So I'm a big believer, you've got to be consistent for you to bring in your tribe, because it's the words you speak, it's your actions, it's what you write, I mean, people can feel it.
Right. And so it's not this perfectionism thing. It's not like you've got to be perfect.
No.
But at the same time, you have to know what resonates true and what rings true for you. And again, I mean, there's a scripture that says many will cry out, Lord, Lord, but Jesus said that I don't know them. That's because we can say a lot with our mouths, but the vibe that we carry is
Right.
ultimately what people sense and what people can feel. So it's really important that there be alignment, as you said, with what we think and what we say and what we do. So then that resonance
Right.
can then draw others like us who are similar to us. So yeah,
Right.
that's
Right. And if it wasn't for the fact that you spoke your truth, I found you on Facebook. I liked you because you were real. You said who you were, but yet you had this, and in addition to who you were, you had this beautiful Christ consciousness about you. And for me, it was intriguing. Had you hidden any part of that, maybe we wouldn't have found each
right,
other.
right. So that when I say strength in numbers programming, that's what I'm talking about. So you cannot be,
Yeah.
or let me just say, I don't want to make it seem like I'm demanding anyone. It's hard to find out who you are when you're trying to be like everybody else.
Right.
That's the
Yeah,
basic.
exactly.
I mean, if I had to sum up what I'm saying about find out who you are, apart from your family, apart from a relationship with a person that you're trying to pursue, find out who you are before the lover comes, you know? So when he comes in or she comes in, they're being invited to a whole person, not a person who's discovering who they are. And of course, we're ever journeying and we're ever evolving, and who we are will change, but we've got to have a sense of that foundationally so others can be attracted to what we're doing. So
Yeah. Yep. That plays really well into my series, Calling in the One. You have to live you have to know yourself. If you want to know somebody else, you got to know yourself. If you want to know God, you need to know yourself. If you want to feel God's love, you got to love yourself. Everything starts within. It's the inner universe that reflects out in the outer
absolutely. So we
universe.
look at this age that we're living in now, where we said we have access to information like never before. We have connectivity like
Right.
never before. The time is right for us to really usher in this new age of awakening, but we've got to take responsibility for it, which means that I can't wait for my uncle and them to get it. You know what I mean? I can't wait
Right.
for
Yes.
my old pastoring friends to get it. I can't wait for Joel Osteen to get it. I can't wait for any of the places that I've been to get it before I decide that I'm going to stand in the truth that I know. I am responsible for speaking, sharing, and living this thing apart from them. And so that's what I say when I say we're responsible for our own evolution. We talk about the journey often about the butterfly. It goes from a cocoon and the insides get all mixed up and change around, and then it emerges into the butterfly. Well, we use that as an example for us, but the difference between us and that caterpillar as humans is that we're intelligent beings. We are thinking beings. We have been given volition, and volition is choice. And so we are responsible for our own evolution by making conscious choices, not unconscious decisions. There were times when I made decisions in ignorance, and that's what led to the drug abuse and that and other things. But now as I consciously make decisions, is this good for me? Is this beneficial for my body? Is this beneficial for building community? Is this beneficial for building a world that I want to live in? I take responsibility, therefore, for not only my evolution, but anything that's connected to me goes up as well. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about taking responsibility for our own evolution. We're not just butterflies and it's just going to happen. No, it's going to take us being deliberate, making better decisions than our parents. We ought to leave the planet better than it was when we got here. You see what I mean? So we're not advocating waiting for Jesus to crack the sky. We're not waiting for a president to come in and be a messiah or a superhero. We're taking responsibility ourselves. That's basically what I have to share.
I love it. I love it. Yes, that is something that I believe that all of the wisdom keepers here on Sacred Uprising, what we support and we talk about in many of our videos. And it's something that it's really great to hear the words, but put it to action. And that's where it is. And you know, it's easy to get a reading for somebody to tell you what your future is, but you know what? You are the captain of your ship.
Absolutely.
Let's do the inner work together so you can control what's going to happen, not that everything is just going to happen
Right.
to you. Let's work together on creating something that is beyond our understanding within our
Absolutely.
lives.
Yeah. And so that's all I have to
So
share for today.
yeah, and I'm sorry everybody for you couldn't hear me before, but Dak, I loved what you had to teach today. Dak comes is with us every other Monday, and we're doing these little snippets, and I love them. They're gold nuggets of wisdom. So thank you so much. On that note, I just want to remind everybody we start tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Stay tuned for tomorrow. We have quite a few people, and it's going to be a great a great lineup. So have a great week, and we will see you tomorrow.